sometimes chemicals combine in a certain way, and certain times they don't. And they cannot produce, with great difficulty, they can produce a little bit of the string of chemicals called a virus. And what is the benefit of that? It causes epidemics. This is the life they've been able to produce. Because some of them doubt that viruses are living things, or even some of them doubt that viruses exist. Mainstream scientists, they're the minority. Because why? Because they are weaponizing these viruses. So by weapons they can conquer the enemies, they can control the world. So they're not much interested in hearing whether the virus is living or non-living. They're just interested in the effect. You can kill people, or you can control their mind by viruses. So this is what you call frontline news nowadays. And they have computers doing a lot of the tedious laboratory work. Formerly they would have to, one by one, attach one, what are they called, base, and produce a string of amino acids or what are they called, nucleic acids, to produce a protein or DNA, a piece of DNA or RNA. I know this because when I was their age in college, I had to write a paper. One Professor Sanger had won the Nobel Prize, the first person to determine the sequence of amino acids, and the molecule he used was insulin. It's one of the smallest proteins, so he could handle it. I think about not more than 100 amino acids. So I had to go to the library. At that time there was no online research, and dig out all his articles, and so I remember this very well. And of course it's relevant now, but I understand it. Now this is all automated. Computers doing the sequencing, and they can produce a virus. I hope I don't go too far off course, and they can determine, they can select a virus for its effects. See, some viruses cause some mucus or watering of the eyes or a headache or something. Other ones, they're lethal. So this kind of research is not very gentlemanly, is it? To produce viruses that are lethal, but they want to do it. So what they do, they offshore the work. They offshore the work. So where do you offshore it to? Who is capable? China. So they offshore the work to this Wuhan. Now the rest is controversial, whether this COVID came out of the Wuhan lab by accident or by intent. But the fact is that the United States, they said no, we should not do this kind of research. It's not gentlemanly, but we want to get it done, so we offshored it. So they offshored it, and the rest is a little bit of history. And of course they thought this is a very good weapon. Atomic bombs are very nasty, but a virus, it just quietly will kill a few million people here and there, and it doesn't damage the infrastructure, so it's very good. It's biological warfare. This is advancement of human civilization in Kali Yuga, this is advancement, see? They're figuring out how to kill whole countries of people. And people who are happy by coming together and chanting Hare Krishna, they're religious fanatics, hypnotized, brainwashed, like that, see? They have been doing it for only 50 years or so. We have been doing this, Mataji is chanting on Mala. How long? There's no history. You go to any temple or people's house, you see Lord Shiva, what is he doing? He's got Mala. Hanuman, he's got Mala. All the acharyas, see Bhaktivedanta Thakur chanting Mala. Prabhupada, he taught us to use Mala. How long is that an invention of the Bengal State Ministry of Global Domination, that we should bring everyone under our control by teaching them to chant Mala? No. They are bringing everybody to accept Bengali cinema as very nice, so they buy their cinemas, and some big cinema producer become rich and some actors become famous. That is their only, and they call that Bengali culture. See? We went to this temple, Bengali temple opposite the Balaji, the Krishna temple, and we were doing kirtan there also. After the kirtan, there were some people dressed all with tight dresses and different. So one young woman came up to me and said, "So Swami, how do you like a Bengali culture? This is Bengali culture, women wearing tight dress and dancing like like robots." No, actually Bengali culture is this. See, 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, according to all the Shastras, Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Upanishads also, all say that in Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna advents in the form of a sannyasi of a fair complexion, and he's chanting and dancing. Yeah? So that is Bengali culture. That is actually Bengali. I've done research, because how I joined this simply by Bengal's topmost ambassador ever, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He went to the West, and simply by chanting, he sat down in a park, and some young people came, or maybe he was living in a storefront, and some young people were coming, and then he took them out to the park. And they were doing kirtan in the storefront, and he says, "Today we will go to the park." And that was the beginning. So I've documented all this because the subject of chanting is very important. Because what did the Lord do? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna, we know he did so many things. He lifted Govardhan Hill. He killed many asuras. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita in the Battle of Kurukshetra. What did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He simply chanted. He didn't even talk much philosophy except to a select few very highly qualified sadhus simply chanted. So the history of how this chanting started is very important, isn't it? Because this is this chanting is Sankirtan, as we are doing according to our means. This is the Yuga Dharma. Not yagyas, not archana, not dhyana. This kirtan, Sankirtan. So to understand how it started is very important, yes? So I learned how to chant. I learned the chanting. I joined this movement because of hearing this same proper chanting. I've said before. I'll say it every week. There's no harm in repeating it. It's beneficial. So to understand where this chanting came from and how it spread is very important. Especially that at the present time, although purportedly the movement has now expanded all over the world, temples in Russia and South America and Europe and Asia and Africa, but the quality of chanting has deteriorated. So the result is that people are not being attracted as they were, or if people are attracted, it's for some other purpose, not purely spiritual attraction. So I decided a few years ago to document this history, and I'm still working on it. Now it's ready for publication, if anybody has an idea how I should publish it. But I'm reading and rereading and reading and proofreading and correcting spelling and syntax. So I'm very satisfied and impressed to read what I have collected. Some of my own statements of my own experience, but a lot from authorized sources, histories. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared only a little more than 500 years ago, so there are many biographies of him. There are many biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Christians, they have their Bible with stories about Jesus Christ, but many doubt. They say this has changed subsequently by self-interested groups. The king of Constantinople, he wrote his own Bible. He changed the Bible. So among Christians, they have there's so many sects based on this issue that the history is not dependable. Somebody claims it's this way, somebody claims this way, but we have authorized biographies only a few hundred years old, unchanged biographies. Especially Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Chaitanya Mangal, Lochan Das Thakur. These are very, very, very interesting to read, the history of Bengal. So I wrote sometimes I have personally done it once or twice, approached some young fellow sitting in the temple doing kirtan. I say, why are you chanting like that? Where did you get those tunes? Who has authorized? He says, Prabhu, this is traditional Bengali kirtan. What is this traditional Bengali kirtan? Bengalis are famous for singing. I remember going on the train and somebody is singing and collecting some rupees. But and they talk a lot also. They like to talk and sing. But is that singing? What is the meaning of traditional? and where the tradition comes from, and is it a pure tradition? Tradition is not the highest praman. The highest praman is Shastra, and Guru who follows exactly the Shastra and nothing but the Shastra. These are the highest praman. So I started doing some reading in Chaitanya Bhagavat and other books. There was no kirtan before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The people of Bengal, they were very cultured. They were doing Sandhya Bandhanam and bathing 3 times and performing yagyas. But they were basically materialists. And they didn't like to hear a kirtan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was born in the middle, in Navadvip, which at the time was the capital of Bengal, under the Muslim rulership. When he was doing kirtan, they complained and they threatened, if you don't stop this weird shouting, we're going to report you to the Muslim magistrate, and he'll break your house and break your drums and throw you in the Ganges. The so-called Brahmins were talking like this. They didn't like the kirtan. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because from childhood, from infancy, he demonstrated the qualities of the Lord himself. For example, I gave the example recently that when he was just a baby, he was very beautiful, so all the young girls from the adjacent houses, they would come to see him and bring some little gift, some, I don't know, ankle bracelet or something. And they were, so he would cry, he was crying, and the only thing that made him stop, not to dangle some ornament in front of him or tickle him or anything, no, nothing worked. Only when they chanted Hare Krishna, then he stopped chanting and he smiled. So the house was always filled with chanting Hare Krishna. So from infancy, he was preaching, you see, in that way. And as he grew up, he was enrolled in school. He learned grammar and rhetoric and logic and all these subjects, secular subjects. And he was expert. He became, even though he was young, he was acknowledged as the biggest the scholar in the town. Then he took initiation, and from that time, around age 16 or 17, and he defeated one Kashmiri Pandit, Digvijay, who was traveling all over India, Sri Rangam and Dwarka and every center of religious scholarship, and he was defeating everybody. He came to Navadvip because he heard somebody is there, let me go defeat him. He was defeated by the young Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he decamped, he fled the city because he was defeated. So from that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the acknowledged biggest Pandit in all of India. So at that time he decided, well, now I have to do my mission, and he started teaching Sankirtan. This kirtan is very simple, but it is to be done according to some standards. Not that anybody can chant in any way, like the tune for some online advertisement for chocolate or tea or something. No, there's some tunes and some way of chanting. So he began to teach that. So at first there was opposition. He taught it privately at night, so the neighbors would not disturb. So these things that I present in this article. I want your input. You can take copy and read and suggest how I should publish it. Online exclusively, or print it in a book, and then how to sell it on Amazon or something, okay? So please come, give me your email or WhatsApp, and I'll send you the article, and you read it and give your ideas. The point is that how kirtan is performed is crucial. It's not just, oh, well, you like to do it that way, we do it in our way. Traditional Bengali tune types. No. As I elaborate, there was no tradition of Bengali kirtan before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The actual Bengali tradition is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how he chanted, it was not, like some young person just starts chanting something. We want pizza, in some tune. No. The tune itself is spiritual. This Prabhupada made very clear. Somebody asked him, Prabhupada, where do you get these tunes? He said, they're imported from Goloka. They've come down. And so he was qualified to receive them. And for that reason they're potent, you see. So those who claim to be kirtan leaders, but who sing in some tune, they may call it Bengali traditional tune, but actually it's simply their own concoction, and they are not qualified. If one is very qualified, then he could perhaps invent a new tune. Yes. Prabhupada said about George Harrison that George Harrison, he said, he's my foremost uninitiated devotee. George Harrison did a lot. He appreciated Prabhupada's tune. At one point, he and John Lennon were sailing around the Greek islands in a yacht and simply chanting all day long, till he says our jaws were aching, but we felt exhilarated. Okay? So George Harrison, Prabhupada said, no need for him to take, he's my number one non-initiated devotee. And he said he can write songs, so I'll give some ideas, and he can write songs. But the mantra itself, he also chanted, I don't remember, yes, he recorded with this Govindam song, with Jamuna leading. The musical arrangement, and in the background is the Beatles, George Harrison's musical group. If you go to any ISKCON temple in the early morning, I think they still play it. Yes. At 7 o'clock, they open the curtain and they turn on a recording. Govinda, Jamuna Mataji is chanting, Govindam Adipusham Tavaham Bhajami. And in the background you hear the world's at the time top band supplying the musical accompaniment. So it was very moving. I don't know now how people are appreciating it, but the first time I heard it I was very moved. I just came back from, anyway. So the point is that not everybody is qualified, not all musicians are qualified to invent their own tunes. Especially spiritual music, you have to be spiritually qualified. What is that qualification? You have to be without any material desires. You have to be a pure devotee. See? One section of my book, I have quotes. The title is, do all the members of the Sankirtan party have to be initiated? So Prabhupada answers, they have to be pure devotees. So you may be thinking, yes, you should think. You're all devotees, but you should think, am I a pure devotee? What does pure devotee mean? Pure devotee doesn't mean that sometimes you're interested in chanting and being part of kirtan party or attending Rath Yatra or worshipping the deity, but at other times you like to think of things to satisfy your body, senses, your mind. That means these are impurities. So pure devotee means he has no material desires. Material desire means, as I said, desires for satisfying the body and the mind. If I have a lot of money and I get a lot of prestige, I'll be famous, then I'll be... That's impurity. See? And Prabhupada, he's so famous, but he never had the idea that I'll become a famous Swami. You see pictures of some Swami, I won't mention names, and he's standing like this. This mudra, this is a challenging mudra. It's not humility. Like this. So by his very posture, he's displaying that he's unqualified. But he's very famous. One member of ISKCON temple was giving a talk recently, and it was recorded, and he specifically mentioned by name this Swami. As a result, he was banned. He was banned by the vice president, I said last week, but it's so amazing that it bears repetition. The vice president of Calcutta temple, what jurisdiction does he have over somebody talking in Delhi? None. He has to go to the governing body commissioner, and if he agrees, then that he will communicate to the governing body commissioner for Delhi, and he will say this person should not be allowed to speak for so long. But he called a press conference, and he said this person is banned for criticizing this, our Bengali Swami, puffed up, atheistic character, standing like this, challenging, I'm the Swami. You know? So this is all by way relating to Sankirtan, because in Kali Yuga people are not, there are no philosophers. There are no philosophers. See, in Kali Yuga people are manda sumanda mateo, mando bhagya. It means people are restless, lazy, and always disturbed by so many things. If they hear that somebody else did very well on the stock market, they become jealous. Oh, they become disturbed. If somebody has got a, is it Audi car? It costs like 50 lakhs for one car. They become jealous. But this is not the qualification of a these are disqualification. In Kali Yuga, they're so prominent. People are restless, lazy, and always disturbed. So it's not possible to become a big philosopher, or to perform yagyas, or to meditate. Dharma means to perform Sankirtan, you see? So you may be feeling very good, we're going every Sunday, and for half an hour we go in the street. It's nice, but you should think, oh, I should do this every day, morning and evening, not just half an hour there. In your own neighborhood you should do.